You're now recording. You've had the questions in advance. What is most important? Well, actually, first let's introduce yourself.
So, yes, my name's Scott. I'm a hypnotherapist by trade, and I've been working with people helping to make improvements in their lives. And it's my little part of giving back to humanity and a little bit of a way of my leaving a legacy in this world. As I don't have any children of my own, I'm not going to have the automatic legacy that many people do by having children. And to the question of what's most important, I think for most people in society, whether they take it literally or inferentially, immortality is probably the most important thing to people in society. And I feel this to a degree myself, immortality. And many people express this in different ways. And when we think about our immortality of being here forever, as a atheist or a non-theist, as part of Sunday Assembly, I've been with Sunday Assembly, and I used to have my own Sunday Assembly for a long time. I started back, I think it was about June of 2013 is when I started a Sunday Assembly up in Reno. Our immortality, when we're not theologically based, well, what is it? Where does it go? What does it become? And for even people who are theologically based, their immortality is often lived through their children, because their children carry their stories, carry their name, and we become part of their story. Everyone has their own story, writes their own story, creates their own story, and that becomes our identity. And we want to have that assurance that after we're gone, our identity, who we are, is remembered and carried forward. And so for most people with children, that identity is carried forward through their story. Myself never having had children of my own, I don't have that automatic built-in construction of immortality. And so I choose to do service for the community, to help others in any way I can. I've been doing hypnotherapy as I specialize in anxiety management, behavioral modification, and so I help people who are having difficult times in their lives and need a little help to, change their story per se, to change their life to a more functional, more pleasurable, way of living and existing. And I've been working with people in that medium for many years. I've helped hundreds of people over the years, and it's been very rewarding for me. So for me, that developing that sense of immortality, though I may not be recognized, but I do make a small impact on a great number of little people. And I know that my efforts, not just with hypnotherapy, but through many of the volunteer actions I do within the community that I live in and have lived in, my little impact does make a little bit of benefit for a whole lot of people. Granted, there may not be a story told of me, but that's okay. I know I've made a difference in this world, and that's very important to me.
I totally understand wanting to leave your footprint on the planet. I do what you do with my neighbors, just trying to, okay, what is it that's going through your head and how can I help you? Sometimes it works out really well. Sometimes it doesn't, but mostly it works out really well. Mm-hmm. So kudos to you. I find that very high ranking.
Thank you.
Second question is, what is your history with religion, and at what point did you decide it was or was not for you?
So my history with religion is a little bit of a family that was very Catholic oriented. As you go back generations, they were far more devout. By the time my father was growing up and coming into an adult, he distanced himself from Catholicism. He still had the religious belief and he still believed in God, though he didn't function with an organized Catholic religion community. He chose to kind of leave that behind. However, my stepmother, she was still more religiously oriented. So for me, well, I'm Catholic on Tuesday and Wednesday I'm, Seventh-day Adventist, whatever, she decided she was, or, Mormon for a while. I mean, I don't know. She just kind of floated her way. So I started to want to understand what religion was about. And so I started to study religion. And over the years I have given some reasonable amount of study to about 14 different religions. At the time that I was 14, I was having a hard time reconciling this story of God and the beliefs that had gone around it. And so I'm like, I come from a family of scientists, and that's how I was taught to think as a child. And so the philosophy of God didn't fit within my modality of thinking in terms of seeing the world through the eyes of science. And so at about 14 years of age, I kind of decided, theology isn't my modality. It wasn't really for me. And so as I continued through the years, I've studied more about religions, and the more I studied different religions, the more I came to see for me that I'm definitely not theologically based. And so since I was 14, really, I've considered myself to be atheist. However, I do love to get into theological discussions with people and have talk. And I really love the concept for Sunday assembly, being radically inclusive and accepting people, because everyone's got different beliefs and everyone has different levels of education and knowledge, and so it's a matter of helping to people feel comfortable, and having a good debate or good discussion on the merits or the ideas of different theologies has always been entertaining for me.
Entertainment, I've used that word to describe religion. It's both in a mean way but also in an honest way, because some of the stories, okay, I can see coming up with a morality from that, as an example story, but I don't see a need to give up other freedoms for it.
Oh, I agree. I do. I mean, in terms of the Bible, if you look at it in how do you say it, in a way that's not filtered through, this is religion, but you start to look at the stories, and when you start to look at different forms of religion, you'll find many of the same stories going around, and so there is a fair bit of human history within the Bible, though granted it's written through the context of theology, but there is a lot of actual historic shall we say, portrayals that have creative license has been taken with them to create current Christianity or Judaism. I don't ever discount anyone's choosing to believe in a particular religion. If that's what gives them comfort in life, then I'm supportive of it. I really am very careful not to ever try to make someone feel bad for having a religious belief. I'm always willing to talk about atheism and how life functions being non-theistic. I want to honor people's identity, and at the same time express my own identity. But I want to make sure that people, when they're talking to me, they feel comfortable to come to Sunday Assembly or to be part of the group and live a better life, wonder more. There's fantastic, concepts. Help often. I do that as much as I can. I volunteer probably 3 to 4 times a week, helping others in multiple capacities.
I think I've asked a good amount on that. My third question is my playful one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a superhero. What in your life might make you a superhero? And if you had a superhero ability from a movie or comic book, what would you choose to have?
Unfortunately, I do not have much history with comic books. Graphic novels were never really, I don't want to say available to me, but they were never really within my purview of things of interest.
Not even cartoons?
I I watched some cartoons here and there, but growing up, I wasn't really sat in front of a television so much as a babysitter, or I was limited to how much television, could be watched and stuff like that. And parents were mindful of, screening inappropriate content for me as a child. So that I think was a benefit for me, because I spent much more time outside playing with sticks and mud than I did in front of the boob tube. Though I did like your story, and it is very similar to mine. You have overcome a brain tumor, which is fantastic. The recovery process I can only begin to imagine. Back in 1996, I ended up busting my neck, ended up quadriplegic. So I couldn't even scratch my own nose if I had an itch, because I couldn't move my arms or my fingers or toes. And I went through a great recovery process, and through that I learned how capable the human is in overcoming overwhelming or paramount odds. I went, fortunately I did not sever my spinal cord, otherwise I wouldn't be walking today. But I went through a process of 5 years of recovering. So I went from not being able to scratch my own nose to being to work back to what I consider 100% human again. I don't feel like I have any disability anymore, though my doctors tell me, oh yes, well you're disabled. Yeah, I don't listen to them so much. That I get out and I actually do more today than I did before I injured myself. I'm more adventurous. I have way more fun in life, because I don't take it for granted anymore.
That's definitely super heroic.
And so as I see it in terms of my superhero power and help, I try to help others to see that they can have a much grander life, that they can overcome difficulties and challenges in their life. And so I do my best. I use my powers of understanding of the mind and the brain to help people to overcome what has been holding them back, so that they can live a life fuller and greater than they had prior, as I learned to live a fuller and greater life after having my cervical injury. So I don't have a name for it, what my superhero name would be, but that's kind of how I see my superpowers, being able to overcome and help others overcome as well.
For the imaginary superpower, a modified version of that question is, if God existed and you were it for a few moments, what would you do? That kind of superpower. Could you answer that one, even though being a non-believer?
So if I was made an all-powerful deity for a moment,
the ruler of the world, the
what would I
universe,
do?
whatever. What would you fix first? Or do first?
That's a good one.
That's the kind of level of superhero I'm looking for.
I I would, if I could, I would bring the knowledge to the world, to the ultimate question: what is the meaning to life, the universe, and everything? Thank you, Douglas Adams.
Yes.
I would strive to give people the ability to achieve the answer.
I believe I have an answer to that one, and that is the purpose of life is to decide what your purpose in life is.
To develop a purpose in life.
Yes. So for me, it's about free will and free choice. Many people don't believe those exist, and for them, they are right.
If you choose to give away your free will and your free choice.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you would bestow knowledge upon the world. Okay, I like that.
Grant the gift of wisdom.
Okay, my final question is, would you like to ask me any questions?
I would love to. Now,
Well, we can turn the camera on me or keep it on you, doesn't matter to me. It doesn't...
no, I'm happy being on camera.
Okay,
It doesn't
good.
bother me at all. As a member of Sunday Assembly, what do you do to help others in terms of helping them to garner the knowledge and understanding of what being radically inclusive means to Sunday Assembly and to all of us who are sometimes one-time members, sometimes multiple times visiting or coming for multiple years. What do you do to help other people understand what radically inclusive means?
I participate as much as I can, and that's been reducing over the past couple months. I bring the camera in, record everything for everyone. I frequently get up and speak myself. I've been a little bit more shy about that lately.
Okay.
As we were discussing during the lunch, I have many negative stories, and I need to focus on not bringing those up so much, or at least bringing up solutions to them. I've shared good stories before, but I'm pretty sure most of them have a negative twist to them. So I'm trying to keep it more positive in that sense. Also sharing the philosophy I said about, when you hear a bad story, ask for a good one to follow it up.
Excellent.
Yeah, that seems to work with my neighbors. As far as Sunday Assembly, I've been to several of the meetings, the board meetings. The people who give me a ride are members of the board. And I'll throw in my 2 cents worth. We did actually have 2 speakers that I brought in. One was my eye surgeon, who was a proponent of medical cannabis. So she came to talk on that. Another one was about redistricting and the voting districts. It was very unexpected. I learned a lot more from him than I thought I would have. I didn't get to ask the questions I wanted to, but can't have everything. So that's how I participate. I actually meant to bring a box of T-shirts I bought recently. What I wanted to do was have people draw the word free thinker across the top. In big letters the word think, then in big letters underneath that AHEA, and then on the back put a D.
Okay.
So it's think ahead, but obviously you didn't think ahead enough to put enough room for the D. And then on the back you could put SAS and put a checkbox there, because we're members of Sunday Assembly, or free thinkers and other atheists, or whatever, AOF, atheists and other free thinkers. Politics and philosophy, I've been a member of that. Just whatever meetup group you're a member of. And I thought that might be good for the Free Thought Day.
That should be fun. That should be really fun.
Yeah, but I forgot.
I do like to think ahead, though. That's cute. That's really cute.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes people do not think ahead.
No.
So many times, I am guilty of this myself. I get surrounded in everything that's going on in the moment and in the day, that sometimes I think to forget about tomorrow or next month or next year or even a decade away. So I'm guilty of that myself. But I try to think ahead as much as I can. Yeah. It's always important to have good goals. Know where you're going in life, where you want to be in life. Because if you don't set a direction for yourself, you just wander around aimlessly and oftentimes end up going in circles. Well, thank you for doing this interview. It's been a pleasure, and I'm glad to be part of the collection.
Yeah, no, you're done asking me questions. That's it. If I were the guru with all the answers, you've asked everything you wanted to ask.
For now, we can always do more later, I'm sure.
Good. I like that attitude. All right. Well, thank you very much, Scott. And if we're done, I'll just close it up then.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching on video.
Okay.
Excellent.